And good morning, everybody. This is Sherman Ray, and this is Black Success Magazine, the podcast. Thank you, folks, for being a part of the show today. This is Sherman Ray, Black Success Magazine, the podcast. It is finally Thursday. We got a little bit of a spin for you today. We're not going to have Financial Thursday with Robbie Thomas, but you know what? You get the next best thing. You get me, which is great. Black Success Magazine comes to you Monday through Friday, about 8:30 in the morning Pacific Standard Time. You can always go to our website at blacksuccessmagazine.com. And folks, we are going to have the change on the website this week. I guarantee it. We've been doing some research on this. Just had some technical difficulties that we were not able to solve all week long. And you can always email me, because tomorrow we're going to actually have open mic Friday. So you can email me at info@blacksuccessmagazine.com. Sorry, I was up. Boy, I was up late last night. Got up again late this morning. And so a little tired. Also, you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. And we promise that we will update our podcast. Been doing a lot of podcasts lately, so we apologize for any inconvenience. So today, in our third segment, we're going to talk about your kids and screen time. Yeah, how much is too much? Yeah, so we're going to be talking about that in our third block. So very excited about that. So some interesting things have been going on. There were some awards last night, and we won't get really much into the awards because I didn't get a chance to watch it. And I really hate to report on stuff that I've not watched yet. But there is a real cool story that I saw. And the reason why, once again, I want to apologize, folks. So for those of you who can't see me on, and you're listening to this on podcast, I'm just yawning my head off. But I apologize to you folks on YouTube and on our Facebook page. There's a lady in this story. She's a single mother in Charlotte, North Carolina, and she launched the first Black-owned winery in Charlotte. Come on. This is a great story. And the reason why I bring this up is because there are a lot of Black wine growers or vintners in California. We're close to California. We're in Las Vegas. And there's quite a few of them. I did not even know they even had any vineyards in Charlotte. So this story, this women's history story, comes to a close. Add one more name to your list of history makers. Her name is Camelia. Masunda is a single mother who launched the first Black-owned winery in North Carolina. Spectrum News one reported that fewer than 30 of the approximately 200 wineries in North Carolina are Black-owned. However, Masunda took a bold leap and launched Ebony Wine and Spirits September of 2020. This is an awesome story. We're going to reach out to her. We really should reach out to her and find out what she's been up to. According to Spectrum News One, Masunda wine brand is sold across the Southeast. It will launch soon in 3 more states, including New York, Texas, Florida. The founder of Ebony Wine and Spirits says that the wine is meant to intrigue the taste buds. Intrigue the taste buds of even the most experienced wine connoisseur. 4 varietals of red wines were reportedly inspired by her family's Congolese roots. Love Congolese. I love the people from the Congo. Nigerian, because I'm Nigerian, by way of Jamaica. So very cool story. Thank you so much for that. And I'm going to show you a picture of this lady, because I think we've got a lot of Congolese that are doing some incredibly cool things here in United States. So we just want to make sure that, and once again, there she is. Okay. So there she is, and her name is Camelia. So we're very excited for her. Ebony Wine Spirits. Go out and get this. That, and also Uncle Nearest Green's whiskey. That is, it's actually, what is it called now? Oh, shoot. Jack Daniels. So the guy who actually was the mentor to Jack Daniels, or he was actually the guy who did all of the wine of the whiskey making for Jack Daniels. His name is Nearest Green. They used to call him Uncle Nearest Green, but he is the guy behind Jack Daniels. They put out a anniversary edition. I think they just put out an anniversary edition this year, and that's going to be it. So very cool. A lot of stuff here today, folks. What else is going on? There's some great news going on. Let's see. There's a book that came out, and this is Yahoo News, Reclaiming Our Humanity. New book on 3 Black mothers and their sons who changed history. This is pretty cool. So in one of the 2 essays that make up The Fire Next Time, James Baldwin's classic book published in 1963, that examines the roles of race and religion in America, the author pens a letter to his nephew, also named James Baldwin, also named James. Baldwin writes of the absence of his mother, Bertus Baldwin, from his fellow Americans' consciousness. Your countrymen don't know that she exists, though she has been working for them all of their lives, he writes. So in this book, these 3 mothers and how the mothers of Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and James Baldwin shaped a nation, published last month by Flatiron Books. This is good. Once again, these are the mothers. Okay, the 3 mothers is the name of the book. Okay, the 3 mothers, how the mothers of Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, James Baldwin shaped a nation. And this is important. I think we all think that, these guys just came out of the womb just, singing, I have a dream, but they didn't. Their mothers shaped their lives, and their fathers did too. But this book actually kind of looks at the mothers behind these guys and what they've done. There's another story, and I got to show you this one too. This is pretty cool still. There's a 91-year-old police officer, and he says, you know what? He's in Arkansas, and he says, I refuse to retire. There he is right there. This guy is awesome. Isn't this guy awesome? His name is L.C. Buckshot Smith, a 91-year-old African-American police officer who has been working in law enforcement for guess how many years? 56 years. Continues to serve his community in Camden, Arkansas, and I've been there. It's a great place. He is one of the oldest police officers in the U.S. What? Did you hear that? He is one of the oldest. One of them. This brother's 91 years old. Oh, my gosh. And he says he doesn't want to retire just yet. He's still got things to do. You know what? Don't make LC to retire, folks. Just don't do it. LC has been on the job, and he doesn't need to retire if he doesn't want to. You let him stay out there on the job. And if he wants to stay out there, you just let him stay out there as long as he wants. Isn't that a great story? I think that's I think if you're not ready to retire, then don't. Why do it? There's another story. Jennifer McClellan. This story is out of, where's that? She might make history here in Virginia. Jennifer McClellan in the race to become the nation's first Black woman governor of Virginia. And this is pretty good. She's in Virginia. And here, I'm going to show you her picture too, because, and I'll see if I can get rid of a lot of this. We've got a lot of stuff that anymore on websites, they just put so much stuff on there. It just drives you crazy. So that you can't just look at a page. It's got like videos, and it's got script and all kinds of stuff. And so her name's Jennifer McClellan, and there she is. And she's running to be the nation's first Black female governor. This is exciting stuff right here, and we wish her well. We all know Stacey Abrams tried to become that in Georgia and failed, but here in Virginia, we've got another woman of color who's trying to stretch out there. So we're very excited about her being a part of that. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about Idris Elba, and we'll talk a little bit about some other things that are going on, maybe a little Mike Tyson, some Vander Holyfield stuff. But when we come back, this is Sherman Wright, Black Success Magazine podcast. We'll be back in just a second. Mm. All right. And we're back, folks. This is Sherman Knight, Black Success Magazine podcast. I want to thank you all for being a part of the show this morning. I know some of you are probably wondering, where's Robbie? Where's Robbie Thomas at? And Robbie is doing some stuff today, so he's a busy guy. Matter of fact, he's got an announcement he's going to make. I'm very excited for him that he'll make an announcement probably next week when he's on the show. But I think you're going to be very, very pleased with his new announcement. We've got so you have to settle for me this week. I know you listen to me Monday through Friday anyways, but you're going to have to settle for me this week. Now, there's a story. Before we go further, Barack Obama's grandmother, Sarah Obama, and this actually story is about a week old, but I think we miss things like this, folks. There's so much political stuff going on, so much social injustice type stuff going on, that we really miss some of the things that we probably should pay attention to. This is the ending of our observance of the Women's History Month, and Barack Obama, who is the first Black president of the United States. His mom, her name is Sarah Obama. She passed away. His grandmother, excuse me, passed away. She was 99 years of age, and they've got a small picture of her. I'm gonna once again, I know I'm taking some time on this stuff, but she, and you can hear me clicking through this really quickly here. There she is. So her name was Sarah Oguel Onyanga Obama. Hey, I can speak African. I can't speak African American, but I can speak African, right? And affectionately known to many as Mama Sarah, but known to us as Danny or Granny. We'll miss her dearly, but we'll celebrate with gratitude her long and remarkable life. And so this was a Twitter feed from Barack Obama talking about his great grandmother, Sarah Oguel Onyanga Obama. So thank you so much for, we just take some time out just to acknowledge it. Some of these things happen, and gosh, bless her heart that she was able to live a ripe many years. I know my mom, she died 10 years ago. Yeah, because she died at 92, and it's been about almost 10 years that she died. And so, it's very tough, on a young man. That was my mom. This was his grandmother. But losing one of your family members is always, always tough. Idris Elba, and many of us know who Idris was or is. And so Idris is, he was voted America or the world's sexiest man a couple of years ago. And he was, hopefully they were going to make him the next James Bond. So he is said in an article that his latest Netflix movie called Concrete Cowboy said his experience with coronavirus gave him a new lease on life. So he's going to play a cowboy. And so there's an article that talks about Idris Elba. So he had coronavirus. And when he did, I think like many people, they've just kind of taken, they're looking at their lives a little different. I mean, they really are. Let's see. We don't want to play that because there was going to be a video played, and we don't want to play that video. So Idris is playing Concrete Cowboy. Love to see this. It's on Netflix. You're going to want to watch this. So we'll keep an eye out for Idris, and we want to hope that he is just having just a great recovery from COVID. A lot of people have lingering effects from COVID, and we want to make sure, we keep them in mind too. In a non-related story, this once again was a story that was about a week ago, but everybody missed it. I mean, they really just missed this story. The fight is on with me and Holyfield. Mike Tyson claims fight with his old foe, Evander Holyfield, is now a go. What? Are you kidding me? Boxing legends Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield apparently will be squaring off in an exhibition match after some very public back and forth from both camps. On March 23rd, there were concerns a fight wouldn't happen after Holyfield's camp claimed Mike Tyson turned down a guaranteed $25 million and noting negotiations were at a standstill. Um, Later the same day, Tyson claimed the fight would happen during an Instagram live interview with Hot Living. I just want everybody to know the fight is on with me and Holyfield, he says. And hopefully this brother won't bite this brother's ear. Now, see, I got a problem with this. I would have a problem fighting with somebody who bit part of my ear off. That's just me. Call me funny that way. I would have a problem fighting with a guy who bit part of my ear off. Some of you remember this. For those of you who don't remember, Evander Holyfield was the champion. He's fighting against Mike Tyson, and Evander is just an Adonis, just big brother, big, muscular, 6 foot something. Mike Tyson, not so much. Mike Tyson is just a rock, but he's the most vicious boxer in the world. And so he's fighting against Evander, and Evander's having his way with Tyson. And Tyson, all of a sudden, you see these guys getting a clinch. They're boxing, getting a clinch, and all of a sudden, if Holyfield starts jumping around like, what? Something happened. All of a sudden, you see Mike Tyson turn to his left, spit out part of the ear that he just bit off of Evander Holyfield. That's nasty. That's just dirty, right? So he did that, and now, and of course, the fight was called, but years later now, they're going to come back out of retirement to have this fight. I just don't know. I just don't know if that's a great idea. So that's kind of what they'll do there. There was a story that was just yesterday. Black marketing executives form BECA, B-E-C-A, Alliance to Amplify Diverse Voices. Now, this is what I'm talking about here. This is important. 26 Black marketing executives at the world's largest corporations have launched the Black Executive CMO Alliance to amplify diverse voices at the leadership level. Members of BECA, or the Black Executive, CMO, come from Adidas, Netflix, Amazon, PetSmart, and a number of other large businesses. Leading the way, Jerry DeVard of Under Armour's board of directors helped form BECA because she wanted to see more leaders of color recognized by their employers. This is what we were talking about before. There are some very, very influential and very powerful Black executives in America. There are a lot of them here in Las Vegas. When we come together and create our own alliances and create our own thing, we can be very powerful. We don't need the government to give us handouts or to create new programs or companies to create these diversity things. We can create our own thing. This group of Black executive marketing executives said, hey, we're going to create our own alliance. We'll create our own group. We'll create our own sphere, ecosphere, and we'll do it ourselves. We will be so good that people will have to recognize us. Right now, there's a lawsuit that is going forth, and what it is doing, I won't get this wrong. Black fashion designers are suing white fashion designers for stealing their ideas and putting a new spin on them and putting them out as their ideas. And I'll tell you, we have more influence on this market than anybody would ever imagine. I think Black folks don't realize how much of an influence we have. And as a result of that, we fall prey to the, yes, Mazza, no, Mazza, gimme type mentality. We don't have to do that. We're some of the most intellectually, physically, emotionally strong people on the planet, and there's really there's no reason why we should have to kowtow to anybody. And we're not saying that we're better than anybody. We're just saying we just don't need everybody in the world to give us anything. We can do it ourselves. Okay. Anyways, when we come back, folks, we're going to talk about Kids and Screentime. how much time do they really need? Okay. Sherman Ray, Black Success Magazine podcast. Back to second. Yeah. hmm I know. Um, I mean, that's a great article. I really do. I think that's a great article about this group, this alliance that's coming together. We might do some more background into it and find out who else is a part of this, because, excuse me, even though these black executives, these marketing executives, and we were talking about this in the last segment, are from these major corporations, they there's a fear that these corporations are just doing it to look woke and to use these guys to get their own thing across. Anyways, so let's talk about screen time and how important it is that you keep an eye on the amount of screen time your kids have, and really what is too much. Now, let's do a little bit of history on this. In the beginning was a rock, and some caveman saw a rock, and he goes, "Hey, guess what? I'm going to carve something on this. Oh, it's a deer, it's a wheel, or whatever." People recognize that, and they said, "Oh, don't do that because that's bad for you." Find out years later, it wasn't bad for you. It was the beginning of writing. We move forward to now we have people inventing TV or the telephone or the telegraph. People said, no, you don't want to use that because it's of the devil. The guy who invented the television said that television is the biggest waste of time, that there are better things for you to do with your time than watch this television. Well, we knew that we found out that one of the greatest gifts to man was the television because of the educational and the connectivity that television has. Now we have the computer, and the computer is now in those same crosshairs. Is it a good thing? Is it not a good thing? Because really, folks, computers have not been around that long. Literally, I remember my first computer when I was in high school, and it was, and I remember that the first computers took up an entire floor of a building. My first personal computer was called a Commodore VIC-20, and it was like, it was about this big. It was just a keyboard, but you used to have to use floppy disks, and the floppy disks were like 12 inches. I mean, they were huge. Now we have, iPads, and you probably see my computers behind me and stuff like that. And the ability for people to connect is quantum leaps. It's just quantum leaps compared to what it was back literally a couple of thousand years ago. So, but there are fears that people have that your kids are spending way too much time on these, these devices and on these, and really, how much time is it? Does it cause depression? Does it have an effect on them? So let's dig into this a little bit. This story is from Lifehack, and what do we know about the effect of screen time on our kids? Oh, I heard somebody outside my window. That's very scary. Parents aren't alone because even scientists are torn about this topic. They don't know. Some people say that kids, because of the blue screen on a TV, that it can affect their ability to go to sleep at night. Well, some people say, well, just have them not watch TV an hour before they go to bed. Or your same thing with your iPhone. Okay, your iPhone can also, so notice I'm covering up my ID there. Your iPhone has a screen on it, and people say don't look at your iPhone when you're in bed because it will actually keep you up at night. Does that same thing affect kids? Because kids stand there and they go like this all day long, or they're just kind of on their phones all the time. But the research hasn't been extensive enough, they say. The results are conflicting, and there's little proof that screen time is an actual cause of behavioral or mental problems in kids, because we just don't have enough data. At this point, the iPhone's only been out like what, 8 years, 10 years, whatever it is. And it really has not been out very long at all. And we're just starting to get some data in on this stuff. And a lot of this stuff, the second point they're bringing is a lack of research on it. Technology is relatively new. There hasn't been enough time to do long-term conclusive studies. Unfortunately, time isn't the only issue. It's hard to find parents that would allow a mandatory 6 hours of screen time a day, or say none at all for an extended period of time. So it's really tough to get people to uh, be a part of the test. How many of you want your kids on an iPhone for 6 hours minimum a day so that people can figure out what the effects of it are? What if it has them growing another spur on the back of their neck? Because that's one of the studies, one of the claims that they're saying, hey, your kid looking down like this. So your kids, they call it, what is it, iPhone neck or whatever it is. Your kid's going like this all the time, causes your kids to have this new spur on the back of their neck. So there's a lack of research. Conflicting results and new information. How many times have you heard that screen time can disrupt a kid's sleep? We were talking about this before. Or that too much screen time can make a kid moody or depressed. While based on previous studies and accepted as truth, researchers are now coming to other conclusions. They don't know. They just don't know. Come on. This is a tough place to be at, where you're trying to say, we're trying to come up with some kind of idea of what people are or not doing. Does it cause depression or anxiety? A link between screen time and a child's or teen's mental health is also being questioned. Studies have not produced consistent results and failed to show a causal relationship, leaving researchers to question the correlation. What came first, the chicken or the egg? Likewise, in an adolescent struggling with mental health issues, because kids are knuckleheads anyways, and they're just growing, what came first? Were they depressed first, or was it the screen time that caused it? They just don't know. These are questions that we want to know. Why quality over quantity is the new focus. So they're saying, look, we can't get all this information. Why we should focus on the quality of the screen time versus the quantity. Screen time is often lumped into one category, but researchers are finding that it's not all equal. The subject goes deeper than a simple good or bad. Think of it as food. Not all food affects the body the same way. Some things are highly beneficial, others have little, and some are detrimental or even harmful. Time has to be taken into account as well. Eating a few cookies one day is different than eating a few cookies multiple times every day for years. Short-term effects are not neatly as concerning as the long-term changes that can take effect. So what kind of screen time is healthier? Is a healthier choice? Broken down into two categories, active and passive. Are we going to have time for this? We're not going to have time for it. Okay, what we'll do is we'll link to this on our Facebook page, because we're just not going to have time for it. So there's active screen time, there's passive screen time, and there's a difference between the two. And that's what researchers are starting to say. You need to focus on the quality of your screen time as opposed to the quantity. Because even though your kid may not be actively engaged on a screen, they're looking at it. They're still looking at it. And is that a cause of whatever's going on in their lives? We don't know. Anyways, this has been Sherman Ray, folks. We thank you so much for being a part of the show once again. We will invite you back tomorrow, because tomorrow is Open Mic Friday, and we'll turn over the mic to you. If you would like to get a question in for tomorrow's show, just send me an email at info@blacksuccessmagazine.com. Love to read your question on the air and answer your question. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Apple Podcast. And so, it's all good. And once again, we're working on the website. New format, new stuff that we're going to be putting on there. You're going to love it. I think it's going to be something great. So check that out when you can. Once again, folks, this has been Sherman Ray, Black Success Magazine, the podcast. We will see you again tomorrow, 8:30 in the morning Pacific Standard Time, for another exciting show. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.